Good morning. Welcome back to Fundamental Friday. Hey, wait a minute. He's wearing the same shirt he was wearing last week. Well, the wardrobe department's on strike, and this is Jake's time of year where he's hunting Daffy, and we take as much time and make as many videos as we possibly can. So you're stuck with me looking like I look all last week. So today we're talking about mold lines. Okay, what's a mold line, old man? Well, mold line is part of the casting process. Okay, for example, this is, I think, about the third repop of the AMT 32 Ford Victoria. Okay, now as you can see, this, boys and girls, is a mold line. Okay, it has to go Popeyes. You have to take your time. Okay, you don't want to sand this flat. When you sand it, you want to round it, because that's the way the body is. You've got a curve here. So when you go to sand this off, you want to just take it like this. Okay, now this particular mold line, and believe me, you will learn through trial and error and practice what grit is going to do the job for you. Now, me, given this, I'd say 220 lightly, work your way up to 320. Okay, actually, a buddy of mine, Gary Brannick, just posted about 5 minutes ago on my Facebook page on Scale Model Car Techniques. Wait, you take the bodies all the way up to 12,000? Yes, I do. And the reason being is because the smoother the surface to be painted, the smoother the paint finish will be. Okay, so you start off with 220 very lightly. Whenever you take a body out of the bag, you have to examine it very carefully. Actually, you should do this with all the parts. Okay, because some of the frames, especially on the older ones, okay, they're gonna have little, dips and divots and everything. Everything has to be sanded smooth. The worst thing in the world is to see somebody spend all this time and effort prepping a body up, and then you look at the frame and there's a mold line on the frame, there's a divot, there's a drop, there's a raised area. Take your time. As I said last week, be patient. Just take your time. I mean, it's not a race. Alright, so another thing too, what we have here is, okay, you got your rain gutter coming down, but it has extended down onto the body line. Okay, so what you want to do carefully wouldn't be so tough if I didn't have a puppy banging into me. Okay, so that took that off. Now, lightly, you're going to want to go over top of that. As I said, there are areas where you do not want to flat sand. You have to go, and you have to go with the curve. Now, that kit, let me see. This was the very first kit that I got. It was released, oh hell, back in the early 60s. My dad bought a 1962 Ford Falcon station wagon, and when he bought it, it used to be, this is where the promos came from. You would buy a car and they would give you a static model of the car that you bought. So this was my very first kit in 1962. Okay, I was all of 5 years old, and it came molded in black. So let's flash forward. This is the Foose Cadillac. Okay, and as I just indicated, you have to check your bodies carefully. Okay, now this one I put in primer just so that you could see where mold lines are. You don't always have to put it into primer to find them. You just have to learn to be very diligent when you're checking things out. So you got this mold line here, you got a little bit of a whoop-de-doo sticking up there. As you can see, I rounded it. Once again, this goes back to the sand. You don't want to sand flat, because as soon as you put your paint on, you're going to see those flat spots. You have to go with the curves of the body, okay? So there was a mold line here. You can see that I didn't get it all the way off because the gray is still there, which means that this surface is not completely flat. Another thing you're going to find too, you shoot the body, okay, with paint. If the door lines are all raised, what's going to happen, your paint's going to go on and the paint's going to fall away from the high area. So that means that these door lines and everything have to be all smooth too. You also have a line here. As you can see, I took it off here because I bounced back and forth on both sides to allow the visual effect. Now, actually, you've got the mold line on the top here, but you also have one that's starting down here. Now, I just did a Revell 1970 Dodge Charger for a customer, and I went back over it. He had prepped the body. I went back over it checking, and I almost missed it. There was a thin line that started here off the roof, where the roof comes down onto the quarter, and there was a thin line that went back like this, and it went into a shape like this, almost an elongated L. Okay? It's easy to miss. Once again, we're going back to an old Monogram kit. You can see where this mold line is here and here. It starts off of the rain gutters. Once again, has to be sanded, has to be rounded, has to be smooth. Now, you can see the marks and everything. This is an old kit. I bought this off of Jim Pardini. Is it a bad kit? No, it's not. It's just going to take some work. You're going to find, as you read, as you learn, that people's laziness creeps its way out into the internet. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do this. Yeah, you do. If you want to do it and do it right, if you want the most realistic appearance, you have to be diligent about your prep. Prep is everything, kids. Everything. Now, you do not have to be as diligent with the smaller parts. Okay? But when it comes to body prep, frame, if you're doing a 32 Ford, if you're doing a 33 Willys, where the frame is going to be exposed, you have to be just as diligent with that as what you are with your body. So, that's an ugly green color, ain't it? Now, as for the removal of flash, okay, set and stay with your body line. Okay, you can see it. Now, what you're going to want to do, a lot of the older kits, they came, when they were taking off the molds, you'll find there might be, yeah, this one's got it. It's got a raised area in here. You want to remove that, okay? This is prevalent on a lot of the old AMT kits. Are they garbage? No. Back in the day, these kits were developed hand in hand with the engineers from Detroit. So every one of these kits is dead on when it comes to a realistic appearance. It takes some time, it takes some effort. Yes, they have mold lines. Yes, they have flash. But if you take your time and remove everything, smooth everything, prep everything properly, you have got a dead nuts on 1949 Ford, 1932 Victoria, etc., etc. The new kits, yes, they have flash also. It's part of the process. It's part of the game that we're playing. And the more diligent that you are with your prep, the more satisfied you're going to be at the end of the day. After you've shot your paint, after you've built your kit, you've got a realistic appearing model. And that's basically what we all shoot for. Alright, so that's pretty much my take on mold lines. So Until next Friday, it's the old man from Lone Wolf Custom Painting. Jake and I say salute. God bless. Take care of yourself. We'll see you next week.